All right, so the bloody war between the states. In the South, this is called, to this day, the War of Northern Aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocky calls that.
Yeah, I know.
I showed up in class, he's like, today we're going to talk about the War of Northern Aggression. He like goes on and I'm like, what is
Yeah, I have called it the War of Northern Aggression as well. Lincoln, I don't know. There's a lot of debate. To this day, there will be forever. As long as there are humans, there will be continuing debate about who did right, wrong, whatever. I'm not going to talk about a lot of that today. But I'm going to talk about what happened, and then we can talk a little bit, discuss a little bit about why. This is the bloodiest war in American history. Everybody, if you ask man on the street what the bloodiest war in American history is, they will all say World War II. They don't know anything about the Civil War. But the Civil War is the bloodiest war in American history, and we'll talk about the bloodiest day in American history.
Which was not D-Day.
Which was not D-Day, although D-Day was bad.
We call it D-Day.
D-Day was bad. You want to talk about total casualties for all combatants, D-Day is probably pretty close. Over 600,000 people died during the Civil War, 1861 to 1865. A 4-year period, shorter than any of the world wars. And in that 4 years, 600,000 people died. About 140,000 of these people died on the battlefield, and the rest of them died afterward. We'll talk a little bit about why that is here in a minute. Here are some of the reasons why this is the bloodiest war in American history. We have vastly improved weaponry all of a sudden, except in the big guns, although by the end of the war, the big guns will start to roar. They'll figure out how to rifle barrels on the big guns toward the end of the war. Remember the Monitor and the Merrimack blaze away at each other for hours and nothing happens, really. Seriously, and they expend a lot of powder and shot and pretty much nothing happens. The defensive armaments on ships have outstripped our ability to throw incendiaries at each other, but not on the battlefield. You can only armor a human being so much, and we long since learned how to puncture any kind of armor that you could seriously wear. We'll get to Kevlar later, but we don't have Kevlar. We do, however, have conical bullets now. We're not throwing balls. For those of you who do baseball, soccer, or any of those kinds of things, if the ball has no spin, it floats anywhere. Knuckleballs, if you throw a knuckleball, you can throw it really slow. In fact, you can't throw it fast. It comes in about 55, 60 miles an hour. It doesn't sound very slow, but trust me, when guys are throwing 95 miles an hour all the time and a guy throws a 60-mile-an-hour knuckleball at you, it seems like it takes a week to get there from the pitcher's mound. But the thing is, also the air just pushes it around all over the place. You have no idea where it's going to go, including the catcher. People who catch for knuckleball pitchers are a special breed of insane, because you don't know. I mean, you could go any place, and they're jumping, catching, or down here, and they're all over the place. They'd be very athletic. That's the same thing with a musket ball. When you throw a musket ball out of a smoothbore rifle, it's not a rifle, it's a musket. The parts no spin to the ball, and so it could go essentially anywhere. Not absolutely, of course, but within a very broad range over a very short period. I mean, using a smoothbore musket, hitting that clock from here would have been pretty good. Some guys could do it, but then they put rifling on the barrel and the ball would spin. And all of a sudden, like a curved ball, it goes exactly where you decide you're going to put it. Or like David Beckham's left foot, or David Beckham's right foot, if it comes to that. The ball will go where you want it to go. And we figured out how to do this. So then somebody had the bright idea to shape the bullet. So now we get conical bullets, where we had just smooth balls before. Now we have conical bullets. They fly better and farther. And nobody's prepared for this. You know what the effective range of the enemy artillery and the enemy gunfire is, except when it's not that anymore. and all of a sudden they can shoot you at a quarter of a mile instead of 150 yards. And an enormous number of people die because of these advances. And right along on the heels of it is the Spencer repeater. We saw a little bit of this a couple weeks ago. Here's the Spencer repeater, 7 shots on the Spencer repeater. It's a carbine, short-barreled rifle, carried mostly by cavalry early on. It was thought to be a gimmick. It jammed a lot. But the Confederates famously said this is the rifle that they can load on Sunday and fire all the other days of the week. Well, it's pretty terrifying when you're expecting the guy to take 15 seconds to reload and he just shoots you again. Guy fires, you charge because you have time, right? You can get to him before he can reload. No, you can't, because he just goes like this and shoots you. This is very hard to get used to. We've had all of human history of firearms where you couldn't do this. And all of a sudden you have guys who are able to plink at you 5, 6, 7 shots at a time. It makes a very small number of people enormously effective in terms of rate of fire, and they can hold off much larger groups of enemy. Yes?
I feel like this is war kind of like a Unite game, you know, because it's like so different than war now. It's like you have to wait for everyone to reload, so it's like somebody shoots and you're like, oh, should I go, should I run for it? And then you're like just holding back and then you're like waiting to shoot, and it's like you don't know what's happening, but you're really just playing like a strategic mind game, and it's taking a long time.
Yeah, what gun do they have?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, do they have one of those fancy guns that can shoot me 7 times?
It's like, should I go down?
Right, and if you are the attacker and you're holding a Sharps rifle, you shoot once.
And then you wait.
And then you wait.
You pretend. You like turn it this way.
Yeah, you turn it, you hold it up in the air like you're going to reload it. And wait for them to come out of cover. And then you shoot them again.
That sucks.
Yes, this really sucks. It especially sucks if you're wearing blue. Because you don't have these. It's the dudes in gray who every week seem to show up with a new thing on the battlefield that they didn't have before.
You mean the other way around?
Yes, sorry, yes. The guy, if you're in gray, you're right. Thank you. Yes, that's right. Yeah, other way around. The Confederacy, they can only get these by killing people that have them. Because they can't make these. They did a fair amount of that, actually. There's a really interesting alternative history. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that wrote it, called Guns of the South, in which a guy builds a time machine and takes a crate of, or a train load or a boxcar full of AK-47s back and gives them to General Lee.
Oh,
You might want to just, look that up, because the guy who writes the book, it's called Guns of the South. The guy who writes, he's a famous alternative historian. He has a history of World War II, an alternative history of World War II, in which aliens invade the Earth in 1942. Needless to say, it scrambles the conditions on the ground in Europe quite considerably, and Asia, and it's pretty good stuff, actually. Thickly researched, pretty good. Now, I hope that I can actually make this video work. I have to talk about this. The other thing is, YouTube videos are great.